Family estrangement is sometimes necessary if your family is toxic, abusive, you just can't be around them. They're worse for you than if you're not. Like, sometimes family estrangement is good for you. It is necessary. And that's the choice I made. I made it over 10 years ago. I haven't seen my father in 10 years and I haven't seen my mother in 15. It's actually been like a little up or down from that, but like that's the general gist of it. And as an adult, like the farther I get from them, right, the more years pass, the longer I've been on my own or married, right, the longer I've been out from underneath their, like, I don't want to say protection or wing, I really want to say like control, like out of their control, because I really felt like the government essentially makes it so that your parents control your life until you turn 18 and you become a legal citizen, like you become a legal adult. That's when like they stopped being able to control me and I was able to go and like control my life and control myself and all that. So as an adult, the longer it's been since I cut off contact with my parents, the longer I go, the like, I don't want to say the easier it becomes, because it's not like it was ever an easy decision to make. It was just a necessary one. And the other thing for me is that I didn't have emotional attachments to my parents because they never treated me well. They didn't raise me right. They weren't good parents. So I didn't have an emotional attachment that I had to break. I didn't have to break from that. It was just always like an obvious, I need to get out. When I turn 18, I'm leaving no matter what. And that happened when I lived with my mother, and that happened when I lived with my father. That thought process never changed. It was always, I need to get away from my parents, whoever the parent was at the time. And when I was 18, like when I first moved away, I went and lived with my aunt and uncle, and one of my sisters was already there. I want to say, like, I didn't know how to talk to other people appropriately about family estrangement, because to me it was just, I hate my parents, they're terrible, awful fucking people, and I want absolutely nothing to do with them, and it's much better for me to be away from them because then they can't abuse me. Like, that was like my thought process. And now, like, I can agree, right, that is still accurate. That has not changed. But if I just go up to people and I say that, it like rubs people the wrong way. It's like rubbing them the wrong way. Like, people don't like that. And I did learn, it took like, a few years to really like understand what it was that I was saying that rubbed people the wrong way when I talked about my parents. And I really like broke it down to like, does somebody care about me? Like, as a person, is somebody interested in me and my backstory? Or is this a stranger that really doesn't care about me, and it's just like, maybe it's just a coworker, maybe it's a random stranger on the bus, or maybe it's like a family friend who has no context for what I'm talking about. Like, those kinds of, like, sometimes it's not the right time and place, right? There's a right time and place for everything, and there's a wrong time and place for everything. So I did eventually pick up on like what situations it's not socially appropriate to bring those things up. Like, maybe I talk about it in a different way or whatever. And like, I want to say like Mother's Day and Father's Day are like the two biggest times when people just don't want to hear about my family issues. And like, anytime I would like, I was like working at Target, right? And this lady comes in and she's like, oh, did you know it's Mother's Day? And I was like, absolutely not. I hate my mother. Like, she didn't want to hear that from me. That wasn't like gonna get me anywhere. That wasn't gonna get her anywhere. That wasn't gonna help, because really all she wanted to know where the Mother's Day cards were. Like, that's all she needed. She came to me because I worked at Target. She saw my little red shirt and khaki pants and was like, wanting to know where the Mother's Day cards are. I don't need to, and what I know now, it's called trauma dumping, like, right? She doesn't need to hear my whole life story. And so like, as an adult, like, I wasn't an adult at the time, but like as the time goes on, I would just like reply to that with like, no, I don't celebrate Mother's Day, right? Like, I'll take away the like, the shocking part of it, like the shock and awe, because it's never that I was like trying to instigate like a shock and awe thing. I wasn't trying to get a reaction from people. That's never what it was. But like, I understand like the little like social cues and shit a little more now. So like, I would just say, no, I don't celebrate Mother's Day. How can I help you? Like, I'm working there, right? And so there's just like things like that. Like, I've learned the like appropriate time and place to talk about things like this. And I've had some people that I've really like connected with on this subject that like really want to know more. They ask questions, right? They're interested, or maybe they have a similar life experience, or maybe their life experience wasn't the same, but they want to know like the different side of it. So I've learned a little bit more about people. I've learned a little more that, you know, not is it just that my situation is abnormal, because I did always grow up knowing my situation was abnormal, and that making the decision at 18 to just completely cut off contact with my parents and never look back was not a normal thing to do. And like, I understood a lot of people didn't do that, but like, I guess I wasn't prepared for just the like societal backlash of doing that, even though it was like a totally justified and good thing to do. And I feel like some people have been a little too harsh to me about it, because like, I was young. I didn't know that people don't like that and that they just get like an adverse reaction to it or whatever. And then there's been other people now. I read a lot of studies, and I read a lot of anecdotes and stories, and I take in a lot of information around me. That's how I operate in the world. That's how I get along in this world, is I take in as much information as I can, and I verify what is a fact, I verify what is subjective, and I make my opinions and views based on like a combo of all of that. And something I've realized is boomers were shit parents. If you're a boomer, chances are you were a bad parent, or that like maybe you weren't as good as you think you are. And a lot of millennials, there's actually a growing trend of millennials who are cutting their boomer parents out of their lives. Now, I was early to that game, right? I was 18 when I did that, but to see that like, I would say it's like a quarter of the population of millennials now have cut out contact with at least one of their parents. And so, you know, when I meet people that have done that, I now like don't get the same reaction, right? Because there's a lot of people my age that are doing the same thing. But there's also, on the other end of it, there's a lot of boomers whose millennial children have cut them out of their lives. And they get very sensitive about this topic. And there was like, it was actually this one woman that I worked with, and I worked with her at like 2 different places I worked with. And she was like in the friend group at one that didn't really like me. And so when she came to work at the other place I worked at after, like, she didn't get along with me, but she didn't work there very much. It was just like, she still worked at the old place. And I don't know, it's weird. I don't need to tell you about my coworker relationships. But anyway, she ended up coming to this like after work event that we had. And I must have like tripped over something, because I made a comment about how like, there are no bad children. It's all the way their parents raise them. And it wasn't directed at her. It was actually like directed at this like customer we had earlier in the day. It was like, oh yeah, you just need to beat your children. And it's like, no, that's why they don't like you. That's why they act up, is because you beat your children. And like, so it wasn't even directed at her. And she just had this like, excuse me, what did you call me? And I'm like, 1, I wasn't even talking to you. 2, I wasn't talking about you. 3, I didn't say anything about or to you. I have no idea what you're getting upset about. But like, I just tripped over something with her, because apparently her son doesn't talk to her. And I didn't know until that point, because you never know what somebody else's life experience is until you talk to them. And it was very clear that she didn't know who I was. She, like, even though she, like, developed this opinion that she didn't like me because of whatever friend group she was in, she never took the time to talk to me, to get to know me and know where I was coming from. And, you know, it turns out that she and I are on different sides of the aisle. And that blew up a bit. That was a problem. Not too much of a problem. It actually didn't go much more past that day, because she didn't actually work at the new place very much, only every once in a while. She was still working at the old place. But it's like I don't know. I've been told that I should talk about this online, since I do have a YouTube channel, and I am comfortable with talking about these things. It's not like I have a problem talking about it. It's just that I've really stopped talking about it after a while because of the reactions people give me, and it feels like people have no interest in it, and people don't want to hear about my family problems and the drama or whatever, unless like they bring up the topic of parents, and I make it very clear I don't have parents. I don't talk to them. They never treated me like they were parents. Like, they never fulfilled the role of being a parent. Like, unless they like get past that discussion first and are interested. But like, realistically, that's not most people, and it's not most people I come into contact with or have these discussions with. And then every once in a while there'll be like an older woman who like wants to take me under her wing and like mother me and whatever, and it's like they kind of go overboard because I'm not used to that. And that was like, I've had a few coworkers, like a few like older women coworkers that like, you know, they'd bring me food or they'd buy me like little presents and stuff, and they'd like, you know, give me a hug at work, and it's just like, I did appreciate the like motherliness, because I didn't have that growing up. I wasn't used to that. It was kind of nice, but like it was also a little like, since I wasn't prepared for it, it was like too much for me. But yeah, I have no regrets. And I know a lot of other people who are like millennials who, I guess they don't have regrets about their parents, but like cutting off contact with their parents, but maybe they should, because their reason to cut off contact with their parents isn't necessarily as good as mine. And I know that's a bit of a judgmental thing to say, but I really feel like, from what I have heard from people who are estranged from their parents, that a lot of them do end up reconciling. Like, there's a lot that can reconcile, and they do. And I think that's great for them. I think that's like, ideally you should. Like, ideally that's what you want. And like, ideally my parents would just apologize to me and admit what they've done, and then we could at least have a conversation. And like, I've said, I will never have a relationship with my parents. I will never, ever have a relationship with them again. But if they apologize to me and are willing to admit what they did wrong, I would be willing to talk to them. I don't know that I would have a good conversation with them. I'm not gonna forgive them. Oh, excuse me. I'm not gonna like wanna, oh, here's my family, here's pictures, blah, blah. Like, no. But we could at least have a discussion about what they did and what they are sorry for. But I know they're never ever gonna do that, because they're still trying to blame me. 10, 15 years later, they're still trying to blame me for all their problems and still not take responsibility. And so if you are a parent whose child has cut all contact with you and has estranged from you, you need to apologize. You need to admit what you have done wrong, because you failed as a parent. And realistically, a lot of boomers failed as parents, and you're not alone. You're not the only one, but it is your attitude that is preventing you from having a relationship with your child. So I just want to put that out there. And say that your child probably hates you. Your child probably had a very unhappy childhood and is doing what your child thinks is best for their family, for themselves, for their future. Because they don't see you in their future. They don't see you as a good parent. They don't see you as having good intentions. They don't see you as providing for them. They see you as an obstacle to their thriving, being happy in life. They see you as an obstacle in their lives. So, I don't know, maybe I'll leave that one at that. I've been kind of rambling a bit. Well, I'm probably done talking about this for today. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. I will answer every question you guys ask me, and I will be truthful as I can be about it. So feel free, go ahead, ask your wildest questions. If you guys have any comments or have like a similar situation or want to share your experience, leave that down below. Like I said, I'm gonna read all these comments. I will reply to every single one of them. And I'm gonna like maybe make a video on it. If you guys have any topics you want me to make a video on, or I think any topic you leave down below would be good for a video, I'll make a video on it. So if you guys are interested, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and maybe I'll see you next time.